All right, hi, I'm Jay Lovell, and I am here. I want to teach you guys about using LLI Leveled Literacy Interventions. So I have some materials I want to show you before we begin. In one of our resource rooms, we do have cabinets for LLI materials, and in there you'll probably have just kind of like a file folders set, and each of these have two things. So in this first set, it's going to give you a number. It tells you the lesson. They're color arranged as well too, so you can know which grade level it works with. So right now I'm looking at a first grade LLI set, and it's for lesson number 16. So two folders that go with it. This folder has a stapled set of directions and lessons for the teacher or aide who is giving the lesson, and then this other folder has a set of the books that go along with the story too. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps, that way you can implement this on your own. So I'm going to start here with the lesson layout. We have two stories from the days before. So these are the books from lesson 14 and 15. A great way to start your class and this lesson is to hand them at least one, maybe both, but definitely start with the most recent. So for me, I might pick the book that was for lesson 15, a book called Smells, and I can hand that to the students right when they come in and have them read that independently, or even with a partner if you would like, just as a way to refresh on the skills they learned yesterday. And the nice thing about this system as well too is it builds similar word sets, skills, so from one day to the other they will improve and increase their fluency as well too. So give that to them as a way to start, as a nice transition piece too, and then you can go through, you can aim at some of these sight words that you'll be looking at, some of these word family skills, and also kind of some of the goals that will come through this lesson. That's what it entails on the first page. The second page goes through and it gives you some phonics word work that will prep the students for the reading they have today. But before I even do that, I like to have students go through. This is a ABC linking chart. You'll have access to these. A simple tool to help students get ready is to go over the phonics sound of each letter. It takes just a minute or so to do it. As an example, one that I've used is A makes a, B makes ba, and you would go on through the entire alphabet, having students join in with you as well too, just to kind of refresh on those letter sounds. For today, for our lesson, you can print this offline. We have them available in most of these as well too, but they're also pretty maintenance free. You can use a dry erase board, you could use post-it notes, but for the word work, all it would be doing is whichever step you would like to take, looking at 5 different letter sounds and identifying the first sound that they hear. So for an example, looking at the letter sound ra ra ra, and students would then put a picture of a rose, since it starts with ra ra ra, under that letter. You could go through and you could draw those and have students place them. You could draw it and then have them identify the sound, or you could go back to your alphabet linking chart and you could tell them the word and allow them to touch the letter that it does have that same starting sound. So now that we went through the beginning of the lesson, we went through and we've done the phonics word work, we can go through and traditionally I've bounced around a little bit, not similar to what this layout is. I haven't gone to writing right away. I usually use that as a comprehension piece. So I would go to the introduction of the text, giving students the books that we saw earlier. So we could go ahead and we could hand them out, and I give students that opportunity to do a book walk. They're not necessarily reading yet, they're just going through, they're identifying the genre, they're trying to figure out what the author's purpose is, they're also trying to figure out what they're going to learn. If you're familiar with KWL, what I know, what I want to know, and what I learned, this is a great time to introduce that as well too. So students, in this book, it's called Monkey. Author's purpose is to inform students about monkeys and teach them about it. So I might ask students, with a partner, share, or with yourself, counting as many as you can on a finger, what facts do you already know about monkeys? Then we could each set an individual purpose. What would you like to learn about monkeys? And at the end, it's just a very quick 30 seconds to a minute discussion. What's one thing I learned about monkeys after reading this story too? So after we've done the book walk, there are additional questions in the lesson layout for you to go through and introduce the text as well too. There's questions for reading the text as you go through, and questions for revisiting the text when you finish or when you begin the second reading. So as an example, I might go through and try some different reading strategies and fluency strategies as well. I might read the first couple of pages, having students questioning them for sight words that they should know before I go through, and I traditionally stray away from a round robin. I might offer them partner read, whole group reading, or I would just read the entire first time through because they're trying to comprehend. The second reading could be them more working for fluency with a partner, or even on their own where I could pop in and listen to them reading. So in another video as well too, you'll see more about these strategies for fluency, but that's just some of the ones I might use as we're reading it for the first time. After we've went through, we've read it, students, and we've discussed it and comprehended it, students have had a chance to read it on their own as well too. This is where we kind of want to make that extension for comprehension as well. This is when I use our journals, which they had a spot for earlier on, but I like to use it as a closure piece as well too, so I can check for the comprehension aspect. We do have some prompts in here usually where you can find questions asked right away. You can pull from what you know already. Some go-tos that are always amazing would be to ask students, what was the main idea of this story, or what was the author's purpose? As we talked about the KWL before, I could ask what was one thing that you learned. And you can pull more into those comprehension questions. What were maybe 3 supporting details for your main idea? You could ask them a question and have them take a stance and support it as well. And when we work in a more primary level, it gives us the opportunity to work on those word families and building that fluency as well too. So it could say the monkey can blank, and students would recall an action that they have. Here, I typically would not have them use their book since we're using sight words that they learn, and I would have them dig and think about something that a monkey can do that was not in the story. We don't necessarily, what they're writing, we don't want to spell that out for them. We want them to work on the phonics skills. So we will allow them to try to spell it. We can help them phonetically in showing them how the sounds make sense there. Underneath, we could write it with a pen or a crayon, the correct spelling, but we don't want to write it on a paper and just have them copy it down, because that's not allowing them to use the skills that they already have. As a final extension, if students finish it, we can kind of lead into adding an illustration that goes with the writing, not just a random illustration, but one that goes with it. They can add labels, they can add details to make it match even more and give the reader more insight as well too. So those are some of the steps I take for LLI. There are different approaches. We do have more information in the laid out lesson plans. If you're also curious at other approaches to take, make sure to check with one of our teachers around the building, because they are experts in it. Thank you.